Thank you so much, PJ. Words of wisdom. We're not done, are we? We're not done. Everyone in this room knows we're not done. I'd like to add my voice to the thank you for all the work that each and every one of your organizations does, the mission that you work towards for making all of our lives better. My role up here today is to provide you with some additional detail on ways that the Community Foundation can serve as a resource for you, in particular as a resource for building your endowments. And I'm going to talk to you about two things in particular that last year we only touched on very briefly. One is going to be designated funds, and the other will be charitable gift annuities. Following me, we're going to have a presentation by George Baxter, and I think everybody in this room knows George as President Emeritus of the Community Foundation. And we also are going to have some words from Deborah Falk from the Nonprofit Leadership Center. At your tables, you will see, probably underneath your box lunch, a brochure on charitable gift annuities. In addition, you're going to find a copy of our annual report. Show of hands, please, here, if you would. How many of you in this room know pretty much for certain that you receive a check from the Community Foundation twice a year from a designated fund that was set up on your behalf by a donor? How many of you? Great representation. Good. Okay. What we see from the statistics at the Community Foundation are that we actually have about 90 agencies that have such designated funds, that receive such checks from us twice a year, that were set up by donors who love your mission. They represent about 20% of our assets, which also means it's about $30 million. So this is no small change when it comes to providing organizations like yours with a stream of income. You might ask, we've been asked, so who's the ideal donor for a designated fund? Who are these people who set up such funds with the Community Foundation? First and foremost, they love your mission. They love your mission. They also may make the comment, but you know, I'd like to give them my hard-earned money, but it is hard-earned, and I'd like to know that it's going to last for good forever, as PJ had up on his slide. And in order to do that, they might want to establish an endowed fund with us. If that ideal donor also says, for example, and you know, I know exactly who I want it to go to, and I'm not all that interested in being involved in the grant making, then that's the designated fund, because that fund goes on autopilot once it has been set up. An ideal donor might also be somebody who says, they may come to you, Ms. Executive Director, I've got some stock for you. If you're not set up to accept stock, that's where the Community Foundation can help. We have brokerage firms across the area in about 20 locations with accounts that are already set up that can provide just a transfer of the stock. Then it's sold once it's in there, and then the proceeds are put into the designated endowment fund for your benefit. You also may have an ideal donor who says, you know, I have some land up in Hernando County. I'd like to give it to you. You may not be set up to take real estate. The Community Foundation can help you with that. Excuse me. A designated fund works this way. Once those funds come in, and in the case of land, of course, it would need to be sold, liquidated, and stock as well. But once those assets are set up in the fund and a fund agreement is signed by a donor, it does go on autopilot. Checks are determined on the basis of our spending policy. Thank you again, PJ. I'm going to use a rough estimate of 4 to 5% of your fund balance at year end. And in March and September, twice a year, you're going to get that check, like clockwork. And the idea is that it's set up in perpetuity. We've also been asked the question, can these funds be set up for a specific program? So your donor may be particularly enthralled with some portion of the work that you do, they may want to set it up specifically for that, and the answer is yes. We have donors who have set up designated funds for the Florida Orchestra, but they've set them up specifically to support one of the principal chairs of the Florida Orchestra. We have another donor who set up a designated fund for Moffitt Cancer Center, only for research. It can only be used for research. So the answer is yes. The question, are these funds permanently endowed? Because I think if we probably took a poll in here of how you define endowment, we'd come up with 100 different answers. Permanently endowed means you don't invade the principal. The easy answer to that is going to be yes. There are circumstances that might arise when the principal does get touched, but for the most part, we consider these to be permanently endowed funds. Another question that might get asked is, if I'm a donor or one of your donors, could they set up a designated fund that might benefit more than one agency? And the answer again is yes. We have many donors who come to us in part because we can serve as a one-stop shop, and they can set up a designated fund and name 2 or 3 agencies. Now, I also want to say, in the language of many attorneys, it depends, because it depends on the size of the gift as well. Another way that the Community Foundation can be a resource to you is with a charitable gift annuity. Some of you also are in this room, I know, are set up to handle charitable gift annuities. When a donor comes to you and says that they'd like to set one up, you can do that for them. It's a simple contract that allows a donor to make a gift, let's say to the Community Foundation, for your ultimate benefit while they receive income for life. And that's the definition, of course, of an annuity. It allows for a fixed income, and they also get an immediate tax deduction. So again, who's an ideal donor? An ideal donor might be somebody who said, you know, I love your organization. I love what you do. I want you to have some of my money, but I think I'd like income right now while I'm in my retirement years. Perfect. That's what the charitable gift annuity can do. It's also, the possibility is held that through a charitable gift annuity, because the rates are higher, your donor could actually be earning greater income as a result of the charitable gift annuity than they might with the current market, given the rates on CDs and even some bonds. So again, the benefits to your donor, income for life, an immediate tax deduction, and the ability for them to leave a legacy to a cause they love. How does your donor get their money? Very simply. This is our accounting department's job. Back there, what they will handle are, based on your donor's intention, they can say, I'd like to get a check in my hand. We know older donors in particular, they like getting that check in the mail. We also have some who prefer to have a direct deposit. That can happen. We can mail that check once a year, twice a year, quarterly. And I will say, we had a recent individual brought to us by the Girl Scouts, and this was a 95-year-old donor for a charitable gift, and they didn't want to wait quarterly. No, we'll take those payments monthly. Thank you very much. Another question that gets asked of us sometimes is, what happens when the donor passes away? The question is answered in this way. I just spoke to you about designated funds. When your donor passes, the remaining balance of that charitable gift annuity gets transferred into a designated fund for your benefit. So the donor would have already told us that they want you to be on the receiving end of that. Then it becomes a designated fund. The spending policy kicks in. It's 4 to 5% that gets paid out. Again, it's on automatic pilot, clockwork, twice a year, September and March at the current time. We now have the honor, Community Foundation, and I know you folks as well, of hearing from one of the local organizations who have worked with us for many years on establishing charitable gift annuities. Again, for their ultimate benefit, I'd like to introduce Susan Howarth, President and CEO of WEDU Public Broadcasting, to say a few words about that experience. And thank you again, Susan, for being with us.
Beverly told me I needed to do a testimonial in order to earn my lunch today. So, but we're really honored to be here. I'm glad that you called on WEDU to be part of this event. We have such a great partnership with the Community Foundation on a number of different levels. I don't know how many of you know that we do an annual seminar for attorneys and financial planners, and that's with the support of the Community Foundation. The Community Foundation also holds and manages a portion of our endowment. So it was good to hear about all the wonderful results from this past quarter. Thank you very much. But we also, as Beverly said, and as it relates to this particular topic, we do turn to the Community Foundation for gift annuities. We do that rather than establishing our own program, and there are several reasons. Beverly really began to outline them, but I'm sure you know this. They're a great organization, and we have confidence in them and their professionalism and their ability to be able to manage these for us. They cover a broad geographic area, so they have the ability to help us in Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, and Hernando. They handle all the requirements to administer the charitable gift annuities. They take on the risk. They handle the annual reports to the state. They maintain the financial reserves. And the foundation staff handles all the administrative tasks and the investment management. It's really a great thing. It's one thing that, so Nancy Curry's here, she's our major gifts person at WEDU, and it's one less thing that she has to worry about and that our business office has to worry about. So we are really pleased with this, and if you're not working with the Community Foundation on CGAs, I would encourage you to do so. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Susan. Your check is in the mail.